Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Unknown Comics podcast. I'm Brandon. I'm joined by Darren, Chris, and Tanner.
By Force Awakens, we do not mean that kind of episode 7.
That wasn't Force Awakens? Yes, it was.
Yeah,
yes,
it was Force Awakens. I said that backwards, by the way, as well. I was like, episode 7, not Force Awakens.
Not Force Awakens.
You just said it like Yoda. That's what you were doing, right?
Yeah, that's probably the case. I mean,
You were going for that?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, since we're gonna start with High Republic, why not start with a bad Star Wars reference, including Yoda that doesn't include Grogu? I miss him so much.
Except for High Republic's not bad.
I haven't read it yet. I've been shipping it for the last 3 days.
And that's a Wanda.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, but I am proud of our exclusive. I mean, that's what I've been shipping for 3 days is our exclusive.
Yeah, if you're watching it on YouTube right now, you can see our amazing cover here. Mm-hmm. Really great cover. Some of the new characters on there. Chris, Master Chris, and then you get what's her name? I'm forgetting now. Kiev.
Yep, Kiev.
And Skier.
And from what I understand, like this is also
Yoda.
the first appearance of something called Force twins. Does that mean they're twins that share the Force, or people?
They're identical twins, and they
like have an overabundance of the twin thing. You know what I mean? Where you
Is it
across
like-
the galaxy, they know when each other getting hurt.
So it's like you remember the old G.I. Joe cartoon where the bad guy Cobra twins, like if one got hurt, the other one got hurt, and they both had a scar.
Yeah,
so it's like that.
It's similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other one wasn't like physically hurt, but he felt the pain
Right.
when the other one.
He just knows.
Yeah.
And like
Dumb.
their names are the one guy's name is the other guy's name backwards.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His parents hated him.
Well, and they make jokes all the way through issue 2 here about knowing that it's hard to tell each other apart and different stuff like that.
So coming from my point of view of having identical twins as children, it's not funny. I have my twins are almost 2 years old, and I'm constantly asking my wife, which one am I holding? Which one is talking to me right now? Because they don't talk yet, so there's no identifier. Like, hey, Griffin. I'm like, yeah, this has to be Griffin. He's talking. He's not correcting me.
Tattoo a freckle on one of their faces.
I wanted to scar them like G.I. Joe's, but my wife said no. I'm like, here's a little facial scar. You're Griffin.
So of course, Darren and I haven't read yet. Are we figuring out more of kind of the overall plot? Like where...
So I've read the first 2 novels.
Yeah.
So basically, again, this picks up after those novels. So the first 2 novels kind of converge, and when Starlight Beacon was launched, right? So you meet the Nihil and all that kind of jazz. And then the comic book starts after that. So what we're trying to figure out here in the comic book so far is... the first issue, they're having some issues with people are passing things through the portals.
Passing notes.
Yes.
For the audio people.
So we see the marshal get named for
love
the new
you.
station, and there were some people that had died in the novel that kind of you see Master Skier in there. He's kind of having some issues with that. Of course, his arm's growing back. That got torn off in his ship in the novel.
But he's a lizard, so...
Yeah, his arm grows back. So, and then of course the episode 2 is mostly about and of course Kiev gets knighted at the end of the first issue as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
This is like her first mission as a full on knight.
yeah,
Okay.
And they're out in deep space, outer rim. They find this. They got a distress signal from the ship. They go there. It's too late. It's a ghost ship. Mm-hmm. So they board the vessel to see what's going on.
It's a Jabba.
It
find
was
a Hutt dead.
Hutt ship.
So, the overall thing, the Jedi Knights are trying to establish a presence in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, that's the
they-
overall story.
The entire the Republic is trying to set it. The Knights, of course, are still they're the police still kind of deal of the Republic.
The Republic is trying to colonize the Outer Rim.
Yeah,
Right.
Is what's going on.
they're trying to make sure that their big catchphrase is "We are all the Republic," and so they're trying to get out there and make everybody feel like they're still part of it. That's what the beacon's for. Eventually, there's an idea that there'll be more than one beacon.
If any of the other trilogies have told us, it didn't work very well.
Yeah. Because where do beacons now?
Exactly. And the Outer Rim is still
The Outer Rim.
the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
Well, so they go out there and they find this ship. It's a Hutt ship, and they find out that it was transporting a key ingredient of Bacta. And
Okay.
like Bacta's a new thing in the Star Wars universe at this point.
Okay.
And so it had been raided by, I forget the name of the species of the pirates.
It's the Nihil.
Nihil, yeah.
Yeah. So the Nihil are a collection of people that are the bad guys. They're the new big bad thing. So they're all over the galaxy, the Outer Rim galaxy, trying to take over.
The ghosty looking dudes with the dark eye sockets.
Those are the twins there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So the Nihil, like I said, they're ran. If you read the novel by Marcion Rowe, he's the eye of the Nihil. He's kind of like, so basically they have these hyperspace lanes that nobody else knows about. There's this lady that Marcion Rowe has on his ship she's a human woman he's been alive for centuries now. They keep her in a tank, and she has this weird ability to. She was one of the original pioneers of hyperspace lanes, but something happened to her when she was younger, and she has this weird ability to just kind of go into some kind of zone and find these lanes through hyperspace that nobody else knows. So the Nihil can go in and out of all these different places that nobody else can. And so the Nihil
they're like Skaven.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're take it to Tanner there.
I was going to say Eldar, but
Yeah, they do have the webway.
So it's interesting because the Republic thinks they're really small, just like a little pirate organization, and they're actually
It's a deeper organization.
it's a pretty big deal that's been kind of in the secret. But because they've never used normal hyperspace lanes,
They can't tell.
no one really knows about them or how big they are. So, and they are actually who caused the original wreck in the book that caused all these different emergencies, is what they call them. So these different ships come out and are exploding and going into different sectors and causing all this mass mayhem, which is why this ship was needing somebody to come rescue them. So
it's been interesting for me to see, because me being really big into the EU, prior to the Disney and the Lucasfilm reset, right? Which
EU.
it wasn't.
expanded universe.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, all the comics books, all that stuff. So, and contrary to popular belief, it wasn't Disney that did it. Lucasfilm was going to reset the canon anyway. It just happened to happen around the sale. But anyway,
For $7.2 billion.
give them a good reason to
you
go
gave
ahead
them a
and
good
do it.
reason to do a hard reset on it. But so, a lot of people are familiar with the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic games, but Dark Horse did a couple of comic series that took place even before that. They called it Tales of the Jedi. Came out in the mid-90s. And it's funny how much they're so it would have technically taken place even way before High Republic. But how much now they're actually kind of cutting that off. And it's curious to see how they're bringing EU stuff in and what stuff they're just like,
It doesn't make sense for us anymore.
they're just lopping it off
Yeah.
and doing stuff. So, I kind of wonder because there's rumors because the Old Republic is still a game. They keep adding on to it, but whether or
we've
not,
even seen some of that come into even the movies now, so it is somewhat canon when they're talking about Revan and some of these things, and they've actually mentioned those things or shown statues so some of that is in there now. So I mean, it's
just curious to see what they're going to kind of pick and how they're going to pull it all together. So.
So as a casual Star Wars fan, and I'm reading the book, I'll have this read by next week. I will tell you who's the master again? The lizard guy? Skier. First of all, everything about Skier, like his appearance, his demeanor, just flipping through even this issue along with the last issue, you just like he looks like he's going to turn bad.
So I think a lot of it is his race. He's a Trandoshan.
Yeah, he's Trandoshan.
And by default, they're normally slavers. They normally are a kind of despicable
bad
race.
guy.
So he is the exception to the rule.
Well, and they
As far
even
as-
mentioned something is
Well,
going on with him
Well,
in
the
the
end of
book.
issue 1, there was him in his room alone, and there was somebody else in there, right? Like,
he just kind of went in and kind of freaked out a little bit, had like a little cycle moment.
Well, and
and he
even,
said, "Not now."
even in this issue, he kind of goes on like a berserk rage, and
He talks about his rage a little bit, how pissed off he is, and everything like that.
which is like
Yeah, and-
everything that's against the Jedi
yeah,
code. But this could be before a lot of these rules were set in place, maybe?
no,
they
it's definitely
because
there.
his old Padawan, the main character,
Keeve.
Keeve, she goes to the master of the Starlight Beacon and was like, "Hey, he was acting really weird while we were out doing this." Kind of.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't know what to, because she was going to go with him on a mission, and he was like, "No, you stay here." And you could tell he's upset, and she's like, "Oh, I don't."
So the
know what to
masters
do
are
there.
aware that something is not right with him, but nobody. We haven't gotten far enough into the story to know what that something is yet.
Yeah.
So
And that,
And he's really dealing with. He had a really good friend that died during the
books.
in the novel there. So and that's also when he lost his arm. So it kind of shows you that in this comic. It kind of flashbacks to him losing his arm in there, and he's really having a hard time dealing with that.
So the second part I take as a casual Star Wars fan is all you have to do to name characters is throw a couple random letters together and throw an E in there.
That is any
like,
fantasy or sci-fi, though.
Yeah, but I mean, you watch, you follow some things in like Legolas and I mean, you different names, and it makes sense.
Well, Tolkien had a 70-year head start on everybody.
Well, that's true.
As fantasy naming goes.
But like these names, it's like it would be like what Wolverine's like stabbing somebody would sound like, and that's their name.
Snicked.
I think some of that comes from language as well, and what their name would translate to,
It's
this or
written
that.
by an English dude.
Well, but like a lot of fantasy tropes borrow from mythology, whether that be Norse or Egyptian or Viking or any kind of those mythologies. Star Wars, they have to try really hard to not try to probably subconsciously pull that in, so they get really weird to try to compensate for it.
Wait. Let's just Luke Skywalker. Luke.
Right. But people
Han Solo.
But people crap on that because there's English names in a world that shouldn't have.
Hey, his
English
last
names.
name's Solo because he didn't have a family, a-hole.
Yeah.
I'm a Solo.
I
Solo Red Cup.
that is one of the things of the Han Solo movie I wasn't crazy about. I was like, really? That's how
He
you're
could have
gonna-
done better than that.
Like Solo is a slang term pretty much anymore.
Yeah.
And you're gonna bring it into the world. Give it a different reason. But
But all overall, the High Republic has been great. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, I finished the Test of Courage, which is the Young Reader's book.
Have you started that one that they gave us in their little
I just
promotional
started
stuff?
that this morning.
Like the reading copy of it? Or-
Well, the audio copy I have now.
Okay.
So, but so I've got that. I just started that.
Well, don't ruin that, because that little promo cop that they randomly sent us out of nowhere is like $1,500 now.
Yeah, I wish ours was in.
Oh.
Yeah,
Holy
and like
Better
it
shape.
just sat on my desk for months. I was like, I don't even know what this is, but cool, it's up here. We just got a free copies of
lots
like
of stuff
advanced
sits on his
editions.
desk for months.
It's on my desk now.
So to explain this, when I worked at Hastings, we were given free promotional stuff all the time. Like for Christmas, all of my big vendors would send me like expensive gifts to get me to buy more stuff. I was sent advanced copies of just about everything. DC sent me their entire range of comics for free every month.
Yeah.
It was a shame because I didn't read DC. But like, so our desk at Hastings was like everybody's desk was just covered in toys and pop because we get all
Candy.
this stuff for free. Candy,
whatever
I sat
buyer
next
you
to
were.
the candy buyer, so like I had an unlimited supply of candy.
And now he has diabetes.
Now I has the diabetes. But like, so I'm just so after years of that, and then I kind of get off, and I've always been kind of a hoarder. I just never got out of the habit of actually organizing when people send me stuff or people bring me stuff. I just like, well, I'll just put it in that corner and eventually I'll get to it. But it's becoming a problem now, just like it did at Hastings.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a problem.
you shut your mouth.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's a problem.
It was a problem before
you're
Hastings.
not the guy right
too.
across from me.
Well,
It's a
I already
problem.
said I was kind of a hoarder to begin with. Okay, so let's go from Star Wars to WandaVision, because WandaVision last week when we were talking about WandaVision, I had told you how it was kind of slow and I just wasn't that interested. But after episode 4,
It opened up.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
Like,
It opened
and
up
if y'all
pretty
seen that meme where like Thor, like everybody's like, "Ah, WandaVision's terrible," and then it's like Thanos, like being like
Force fed.
force fed, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Wanda, episode 4," he's like, "Ooh, a Shaq."
Yeah, he's excited to eat this.
Yeah.
But like, but it does play along the lines that we talked about last week. That, as far as we know, Sword has nothing to do with what's going on.
They're just investigating it.
They're
Yeah.
just investigating, and it was kind of intriguing. Like anybody outside of Perimeter that didn't have like Westview, that wasn't associated with Westview, doesn't remember Westview. But anyone outside of it does know what it is.
Right.
So what
Well, a certain perimeter, right?
my only theory is maybe she only kept certain people in, and people that were in Westview that she like booted out. Maybe those are the people that have their
Or-
memory wiped.
Or maybe because it was just cops. Maybe those cops were just sitting out patrolling, and but when she put up that bubble, they just weren't in the bubble when it started. And,
Right.
But it seemed like anything that enters the bubble enters her world.
Right. It gets changed memory, and from what we saw from Monica, her memory kind of
Not even
goes away.
Monica, the guy that went through the sewer. Like, as soon as he crossed over.
Well, but what I was saying is you don't really see that he doesn't remember.
He
where
was still doing
is.
his job.
Like when Monica goes in and becomes Geraldine, she is part of the world. She doesn't realize, and then eventually it comes to her,
Right.
when she's talking to Wanda about Ultron and about.
And it looks from the way the neighbors are talking. There's other people that realize as well.
Now,
They just haven't approached.
Exactly.
Wanda.
Yeah. Like
But-
Geraldine had that moment and she verbalized it right then and got
Yeah.
nicked out. The others haven't, but the other part of it is Geraldine didn't want to get kicked out,
Yeah.
but the other ones are like they
she went back
realize
and tried
it,
to pretending like,
but they're
oh,
ki-
it's fine. What are you talking about? Like,
but I mean, she had gone back to what she was doing. She was investigating at that point. And I don't know. It's just, I enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
you can tell, like, through the end of this episode, because the skip moments, because, Darcy and all of them are sitting out watching the show.
and they're not understanding that what they're doing is working.
Right. What they're doing is working. Oop.
Hey, that's
But-
a table with a
yeah,
mic.
and it hurt me. It hurt my knee. Oh. But like Vision himself understands what is going on, and I think he's trying to figure out how to get out of it.
Which is funny because if he is truly dead, then how the crap does he know?
Right.
Well,
So
I think everybody in this world realizes the world's not real.
well,
Yeah.
but you saw for a glimpse of the dead Vision face. So
Yeah.
Now, could that
but-
be because she's just like in a psychotic break, or is that because like,
Or is she still being controlled?
or is she like, does she have Vision's body and just reanimated it?
But here's my thing with that.
yeah.
You think, okay, he is dead, but then how does he know something's going wrong if he's dead?
unless he is a part
Well,
of her.
he
Well,
is-
so he's having a conversation with her at the end. Do you want to stay here? And
We
she's-
could leave.
we could leave.
It's almost like
So-
it's her conversation with herself.
Yeah,
In a way, you could think
sh-
that.
she's
right?
like a fragmented personality
yeah,
inside
I think
of herself.
Vision's nothing but her subconscious.
Yeah.
She has the power to bring him back to life. Mm-hmm. Like, she can easily just pop someone back in life.
In comic world,
She's that powerful.
Well,
I
and
mean,
Kevin Feige's even said
she's
in
the
the
most
Marvel
powerful
universe,
person
she
in the Marvel
is
universe.
powerful.
Yeah.
They've barely touched what she can do.
I mean, if she would have got to go toe to toe with Thanos without distraction, she would have whooped his ass.
I think she's the big bad in Multiverse of Madness.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
Well,
So-
I do think that because she goes straight from WandaVision into Doctor Strange.
Right.
Now we do know that this is technically the start of the multiverse.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw two potential leaks or whatever about the last episode. There's going to be appearance. One person was saying it's going to be Tobey Maguire. Somebody else was saying it's going to be the guy who played Magneto in
Michael
First
Fassbender.
Class.
Yeah.
And of course, Evan Peters, the Fox Quicksilver.
Yeah. Which
Is
the rumor is
okay.
he's going to be Speed,
Which is the son.
not Quicksilver, which would be her son grown up.
Because her twins age as fast as they were being born.
This next episode, they should be quite a bit older.
Yeah, they should. I mean, she's speeding through. I mean, and going decade by decade, and it's kind of Darcy and who's the agent?
Jimmy Woo.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah.
Did y'all notice the flick the magic card trick
Yeah,
from
did a
Ant-Man?
Yeah. I mean, you also saw it like on his board. I guess like one of the questions he had up there is like, is this the Kree or is this the Skrulls? Like, who's the one causing all this? Like, so he's got a lot of different things up there that are relating to the movies and all this different stuff as well.
So the one thing that I was kind of about, and this could still be, so there is a missing person that it hasn't really come out and said who his missing person is.
They've been identifying all these people, so he's had to have seen everybody that's in the show we've seen so far.
Right. So it does, now that doesn't mean he hasn't yet seen his person,
Yeah,
right?
but-
But so all these theories about there are all these other people, they all have names. It did not actually name.
The blonde lady.
It didn't her or Agnes.
Yeah.
So they could still be other.
But we know that they have seen those two, so those
Yeah.
two wouldn't be his missing person.
So Herb is not the high evolutionary.
Have y'all seen the stuff going about Wu having his own X-Files style show, like the meme floating around right now? Like they really
That would
want-
be so
Now,
awesome.
Now, I would be all in support of that. They could do Wu, they could do Darcy, but they have to go grab Michael Pena. Pena, how do you pronounce
Pena.
it?
Pena. Yeah.
And they all need to do a show together.
That would be funny.
That would be like you have Michael's character like narrating the entire thing. Like he doesn't even have to be in the show. He just has to be the narrator. Like, here's where we were at
He
on
does
the
all
last
the
episode.
He does all the asides.
Yeah.
And I
It's
really
just the recap. That'd be
Yeah,
hilarious.
I really think that like every Marvel movie
Needs
needs
him.
just to have him recap what happened
Even
Last time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
even if it's just a bumper that runs before the movie in the theater. Like,
Yeah.
And then we find out
just
that
pack
this
it in.
whole time he's just been the Watcher.
yeah, right.
Because that was always the rumor about Stan Lee, that Stan Lee was the Watcher. We'd find out it was him. He's actually always been the Watcher. That's
Yeah.
why he's so good at explaining things.
Yeah. So
But I would watch a show about Wu and Darcy and just be an X-Files style show. Because what are they doing with their careers?
or they could do, they've done web shorts before.
Yeah.
They could do something like that and just do little.
No, I need more. I need more content than like. I'm glad that we're finally to a point with Disney Plus that we're getting stuff more than once a year,
Well, you notice that they just announced the new Black Panther spinoff TV show this last week. So
which
even-
wasn't announced in all the other stuff.
Yeah, so there's even more in it. That may have been just they didn't have it all the
Finalized.
Yeah, so they just needed to make sure the director or whatever was on board scheduling.
That
Yeah.
makes me think that based on how the movie schedule's working, that after Bozeman died, they have to figure out how to tell the story of how we got from A to B without doing it in movie form, and that they're going to use World of Wakanda to fill the void.
Show us how Shuri got to be Black Panther.
Yeah, Shuri got to be Black Panther, or even bring maybe I know Killmonger. They've talked Michael Jordan B. Whatever.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael Jordan has talked about wanting to come back, and maybe they could redeem his character and bring him back because no one stays dead in comics, and maybe they can bring him back. But I still think it's going to be Shuri. But maybe the world of Wakanda is actually like their way of like, how are we going to explain this through the movies? Because there's been so much delay. I mean, Black Widow's talking about being delayed again.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it's funny that the Kong Godzilla, they're all about HBO Max launching and blah blah blah, and then it got delayed like right after it was
Well, it's because
dropped.
it's because Legends or whatever demanded $160 million to put it on HBO Max.
Yeah.
They wanted
Legendary. Yeah.
Legendary. Yeah, they wanted their money up front because they know that they were going to lose the money from the movie theaters. And but I saw a funny meme. I'll send y'all a picture of it later. But it had like Godzilla, like radioactive tail, radioactive fire, radioactive like claws, and then it had a picture of Arambe. You remember the monkey or gorilla that got killed because of whatever? It just has, he's got thumbs and a willingness to try. And I just laughed at that so hard.
So, Chris, you may know how many episodes is WandaVision slated for?
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think most of the Disney Plus things are
'Cause
sitting
Mandalorian
around
was
that
8.
8 or 9 spot.
Okay.
And then of course the time varies,
Right.
30 to 40 minutes usually each episode.
And they did announce Don Cheadle will be in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I
Well,
wonder
of course
if they're
he'll
gonna
have his own
Armor
show
Wars.
anyway. So
I really hope they introduce Punisher stealing the that's quick bunny trail, but all of the Netflix characters they keep stating, except for they haven't talked about Iron Fist. They want to bring back Michael Coulter. It's been said that Charlie Cox is in Spider-Man 3. He was filmed.
He's already done filming his part.
Yeah, he's filmed a part
Yeah.
in Spider-Man 3. They said that they would
But
like to
have they
bring back.
confirmed it's Matt Murdock?
It
that
has
he
to
is?
be.
No, it
He-
doesn't.
After the way that the movie ended, like, how else?
Chris Evans was
So-
a Marvel character in one
Wait, wait,
universe,
wait,
came
wait,
in,
no,
became
no,
a new
no.
one.
The
The
Defenders universe was always meant to
Yeah.
be part of the MCU.
It was actually directly impacted by the Marvel.
Yeah, because they
Cinematic
talk about
Universe.
the aftermath of the
They
first
never-
New
Avengers.
York and everything.
but
like
it wasn't
that.
like Shield, like
Because that's how Kingpin was getting New York so cheap because he was buying it from.
That
all
still
the
doesn't
people.
mean they can't just make him another character
Which,
But-
and just give him a different hairpiece.
I have another rabbit trail because we've seen rumors that Chris Evans is coming back, right?
but I think it's Hydra.
No.
Hydra Chris Evans.
No, it's the multiverse. He's coming back
As
as,
the Human Torch.
as Human Torch.
Oh no! Oh no!
Michael B. Jordan's not coming back as the Human Torch, so.
Right?
Oh no!
Because he's actually in the MCU already.
Well, yeah, so
well, he's
Chris
dead.
Evans.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, Chris Evans is actually dead. So I guess it'd make more sense.
I would love to see Chris Evans and the Haley Atwell actually do a movie that's in its own little contained little decade of them actually going through and being heroes in their own timeline.
Yeah.
Because he went back, I mean, and it doesn't have to tie into the big anything. Like
Yeah.
it's just a self-contained story. They can go visit every now and then. We get to see Haley Atwell, which is always a plus because she's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they can do self-contained stories. The only other way is like they pop back into time, they steal him, and then put him back when they're
'Cause
done,
here's-
like in an Infinity Stone.
Here's the thing: we've never seen Shield get founded, and she was always like you thought Agent Carter was going to eventually lead into
Yeah,
that,
but that got canceled.
and then
before it got there.
they nicked Agent Carter like you know
Season
a decade before Shield even happens. You know, so you've never really saw Shield come into fruition. So yeah, it's something. Maybe he is kind of Shield in the background. Maybe he's a character. Maybe hold
he
on.
creates Shield.
Hold on. He's a special agent in Shield called Nomad.
Ooh.
I feel like they've done this.
He was Nomad for a little bit.
Yeah, but that was in the current timeline when he was Nomad. Didn't he carry around like a baby?
I don't know. It was a dumb character, but they could redeem.
It was like
they could redeem Nomad as a character.
Yeah.
I don't even think.
And he could just like always wear sunglasses, and nobody at Shield's like, wait, is that Captain America? No, I got sunglasses on.
The only problem there was you'd have to go like to Howard Stark and be like, "Hey, buddy, I know we knew each other 10 years ago, but you don't know me."
Yeah.
Because Howard Stark is also a founding member of Shield,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be like, "Wait a second, I know you."
Different timeline.
Yeah. Well, no, it's still gonna be the same.
Or he-
Steve. I mean, Steve doesn't look any different than when he died.
Or he just always wears a mask like in the Watchmen TV show.
I haven't.
Like a Rorschach mask.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Or the silver.
Or maybe Wizard of Oz. He just sits in the room and speaks from like a video. big
or
head.
he's just like off on the sidelines and like Peggy just sends him off on clandestine missions that
'Cause,
Shield can't
I
go
mean,
on or something.
Because I'm real glad that Thor's going to be back for more and more movies. But out of like the original 3 characters they introduced, like Thor is my least favorite. Like, and I like Thor, but like it was Chris Evans as Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and then Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Yeah.
And in that order, like I always just thought when Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. were together on the big screen, Chris Evans outshined Robert Downey Jr. I know the paychecks say differently, but to me, Chris Evans was the bigger spotlight.
Right. Speaking of, now, I don't know if it's been officially released. I saw it on YouTube somehow, and I can't remember where I watched it, but they released the trailer for Hawkeye. A teaser
Did
trailer
they
for
really?
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They've
And
had that
I
out.
watched it, I was
that?
like, no, this has got to be fake.
No, it's real.
It's got real dialogue and
Yeah.
real plot line.
They had barely anything really shot yet, but
Yeah.
they had enough to already give us a little tease.
I almost wonder if it was like a trailer cut for internal use for like executives or whatever, and it leaked out.
yeah, it's
So-
it's a good little tease though.
Yeah.
So
It makes you
all-
really excited about it. Kate Bishop and everything.
So envision this though. What if Marvel and Disney Plus is secretly doing exactly like they did with Netflix and introducing the Young Avengers like they did the Defenders
Okay.
through all of these different Netflix shows? Because you have Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. You have Wiccan and Speed being introduced through Scarlet Witch or the WandaVision. We don't know who's going to be introduced. I mean, you could have Iron Lad.
Which we've already seen. I again don't think there's any reason why they would not have used him. Why do you bring him back for the funeral scene if you're not going to use him?
You can bring America
Well,
Chavez.
Iron Lad in the comic books is actually came from the future as a child trying to escape his future.
Yeah, but I think they will use the kid from Iron Man 3 to
And I mean,
fill that
it's
spot.
possible. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you look at
And we know we're already getting Riri.
we
getting
know
her,
Riri's
She's
coming.
already getting her own show.
So if you really look at it, maybe that's the whole point of the first wave of Disney Plus is not to expand on the already existing characters other than giving them more screen time because they never get enough screen time, but giving us a new team without really saying this is what we're doing.
right, just backdooring the team in. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because I mean, over time we could end up. I mean,
Because
the
Iron Man's
Oh,
daughter
that's
also
actually,
has
that's the other one.
Iron Man's daughter's already actually technically been casted and even had shooting films, but she
Stature.
was taken out.
Well, Stature's
also
been
coming in.
introduced.
She's been recasted.
And
It's the
they could bring America Chavez in during like Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It's the Iron,
Miss
the Black Captain America's grandson that took over I don't remember his name, but he led the Young Avengers. He was the leader, but he carried a shield. And the whole story was
If you know, put it in the comments and we'll read it.
that'd be great. But like he was actually injected with the serum his grandpa was, and after Captain America died,
There's
and
been talks that they're going to use this storyline in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I mean, he could be the other character they're going to introduce. So really, by the end of these first 4 shows or whatnot, we're going to end up with the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
And they won't have to be. They're not going to be movie worthy. I don't know if any of the actors are. I mean, the girl from Bumblebee.
Stature. Yeah.
No, she's Kate.
She's Kate Bishop.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was going off for the Stature.
Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, who knows what happens? But all I know is I'm excited to see where they go with the show.
Yeah.
All of these shows, at least it's giving us content. Because I mean, WandaVision is the first thing we've had in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I really
So
miss it.
the Hawkeye teaser, I only watched it once, so I'd have to go back and watch it. But
It's
it looks
supposed to
like
be out.
she's kind of. You can't tell if she's working for an agency, but Shield's after her,
Yeah.
and she's kind of she's investigating Hawkeye.
From what I understand,
mimicking
she's
him.
trying to get him to start training her. So she's like forcing her way into under his
Yeah.
wing.
But that's kind of how she does in the Hawkeye comic,
Yeah,
too.
and it's based off is the Matt
Matt
Rosenberg.
Fraction.
Matt
Fraction.
Fraction,
I was actually...
which
as I
is
was-
one of the best Hawkeye.
Same
regions you'll
logo
see.
and everything too.
Yeah,
So as I was flipping through here, I caught this in the new Star Wars. This is actually it's got the pizza dog. There's actually part of Matt Fraction's.
and they're talking about the pizza dog might actually be in the TV show.
He is. He
Yeah.
actually has already been shown in some of the snips of the camera stills or whatnot. But there's actually an episode where the entire episode or issue where the entire issue is nothing but the dog's perspective of Hawkeye's life.
Yeah.
So there was no real talking. It was just like, and then
It's like the book that has all Groot.
That's
Design
my
Groot.
favorite. That's my favorite issue of Rocket Raccoon.
really the I Am Groot episode. Oh my gosh, that would be like.
The worst part's the audiobook.
So were you collecting comics? No, I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
Vin Diesel
Groot.
style.
Yeah.
Were you reading comics back when Marvel decided to do that really stupid "Nuff Said"? So back in the late '90s,
I
early
remember
2000s,
that was always like an editor quote thing.
well, back in the late '90s, early 2000s, Marvel decided their entire line that the artists were good enough that they would put no words in the comics.
Oh,
It would
gosh,
be
no.
pictures only. And Uncanny X-Men was so unreadable because the art was so bad.
So in other words, it
So,
did need some words.
Like circa
They
what-
had to
like when was this?
like it was right around issue 400.
Okay, so it would have
But-
been after. It would have been
But
during my
every
hiatus.
comic there was no words. But Uncanny X-Men, the art was so bad that they actually in the next issue had to put a script to
That's
go
awesome.
with the comic.
Oh my gosh!
Like do an issue with no action. The whole book is dialogue, but there's no dialogue.
it's just somebody. Okay, in
They're
the
just
last episode,
standing-
this is what I.
That's
this is what we
actually
did.
how the High Republic teaser comic they gave us looks. Isn't a lot of it just
yeah,
script?
yeah, because it wasn't complete. So there's a few pages here and there that actually have art, but most of it's actually just the script.
That's funny.
But yeah, back in the early 2000s, they were like, our art is so good that this is where and the entire like it was awful. Like the whole thing was terrible. Like anybody who decides that they want to try that again, I won't buy your comic.
Now, I mean, like every now and again, a book will kind of do a very art-driven.
Well, and you got some like you think like the Doomsday Clock series or the Watchmen kind of thing where
Yeah.
they do the 9 panels for every page, and there's some times that you're getting what's happening in those sequences.
Yeah, I mean that's
Well-
that's the strength of the comic medium,
Yeah.
right? Is they work together.
Well, X-Men 12 and X-Men 15 from X of Swords, if you remember, actually share probably about a third of the book in this. They took the art from 12 and just put it in it's either 14 or 15, and they just retold how the story was told.
Just
Yeah.
different
It
perspectives.
was a different perspective, but
Yeah.
it was the exact same art. Like nothing was different about the
I
art.
don't remember that. I just read that.
I
It's
didn't
like-
notice.
It's like watching
Yeah.
that movie. What was the movie that just came out? The
Was it Tenet?
Tenet? Yeah,
You watch it forward and backwards.
yeah. You're like, wait.
It's Christopher Nolan. What do you
Yep.
expect?
Yep.
When it comes to Christopher Nolan, and if your brain's not a little broken at the end of the movie, he failed.
Well,
Not you.
I still think Inception the first time was still the biggest brain melter for me as far as what he did.
And
Had you seen Memento yet?
I still haven't seen
I don't
Memento.
think I've ever seen Memento.
But that's the one about the memory loss, and he's going back to the pictures. I've seen
it's
snippets
scene
of
by
it.
scene backwards.
Yeah, he really likes playing with time.
He likes telling the story in really awkward ways. That's why when like
'Cause
Christopher Nolan was directing Batman Begins, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a weird movie. And it was just, I mean, it had his tone.
Yeah.
But it didn't have his weird kind of.
it still stayed in that genre. Of
Yeah, it
needs to
wasn't told
be
weird. you know.
Where we leave the theater and we know, okay, yeah, that was a Batman movie.
And I would to credit, like Nolan left his mark on Batman. I think a lot of characters and tone of Batman.
Well, I mean,
I think
what
I
year-
think those 3 movies set the tone for the entire DC cinematic universe because they
well,
keep trying to match it and they can't.
Yeah.
so okay.
Joker was.
So
Pretty
we've got a little bit of free time and the way we're going to talk. So actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about. Okay, so to you, okay, so Batman Begins, the whole trilogy set the mark for DC. You know, Blade set the mark for comic book movies even really being able to happen.
Yeah.
Then Marvel filed bankruptcy and had to start whoring out all of their properties to whoever would buy it. And actually, Marvel won because
Fox knocked it out of the park with X-Men, and
they took X-Men, and for its time, it stood up.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand up now.
and Spider-Man 1 did too. Sony took Marvel. Yeah.
Spider-Man 1 stood up really well. That was early 2000s. There was a bar, and that bar was pretty good. The new Hulk movie that came out then was awful. It was trash. It was the Eric Bana.
Yeah.
I still haven't ever watched it.
I haven't seen that one.
It's real trash.
I saw it on. I was like, hey, no,
So-
that's the banner one. I can tell because the CG is this most terrible thing
So
ever.
Just Hulk,
the
though.
first time we went to go watch that Hulk movie, we went to the movie theaters, and Chris had just started dating his wife.
It's actually our first date.
It was their first date. We go to the theaters. There's a thunderstorm that knocks out the power before the movie ends, so they had to give us free tickets to come back and watch it later. And then, like, I'm sprinting out to the car to get the truck to come back and pick everybody up, and I totally whiffed it and busted on the grass, and just like,
At least it was grass, not the parking lot.
yeah, it would have been awful. But that was my first experience with this movie, and then by the time I wanted to watch it, and it was still terrible.
So let me ask you this: after you hit the grass, were you green?
Hey, Can we get a sound effect in here, Tanner?
So Blade set the mark for doing comic book movies being successful.
Right, giving them a good tone, giving them not campy.
Right.
Yeah, well,
you know,
Blade
and it was rated R, and it was outside the box. They had
No, I
had
think-
some fell stuff with
I think a lot of people had no idea that was a comic book, though. So there was that.
right.
I
But
didn't
mean,
realize it was a comic book until I got way older.
right, but that's the whole idea. A lot of comic book. There's so many comic book movies that come out each year that nobody knows they're comic book movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you go back and
American Gods, Kick-Ass, all
Red.
those.
Remember Red?
Yeah.
Red, you would never think as Losers, you would never think those are comic book movies. And
Yeah.
they are all based on comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and
The
a lot of it's
Kingsman.
just because they were never
Kingsman.
they're never the big popular comic characters, right? Blade was never one of the big notable Marvel characters.
Yeah.
So-
now he's an
X-
Avenger and has been for quite some time.
So X-Men 1 and 2, great movies for their time, stood up well. X-Men 3 was garbage and
No,
should
it
never
was-
exist.
It was the best.
Spider-Man 1 and 2 stood up. I actually think X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2 are the best of the original trilogies.
I could. Yeah,
Doc Ock, I think, still to this day, even with all the villains that have been introduced,
you're
is
right.
still the best villain of Spider-Man.
yeah.
And I'm so happy they're bringing him back. That's going to be awesome. I mean,
Even if it's a cameo of some sort, because we really don't know. Because I mean, there's all these confirmations of people that are coming in. We have no idea if they're actual
they could be
full
just
blown. Because I mean, it seems like Jamie Foxx for sure is like going to be in the movie.
right.
I'm gonna
we don't
laugh.
know about
I'm
these
gonna,
other
I'm gonna
guys.
laugh if Alfred Molina just comes back as like Aunt May's dad.
Boyfriend.
Yeah,
Nah, he's too old
this
to
is
be-
your
They
new
do
Uncle
almost get
Ben.
married.
It's your new Uncle Ben.
But I mean, honestly, Doc Ock was an older character in the comic book, so maybe they do bring him back in.
Yeah,
and
we know Vulture's
or
gonna
it could
come
just
back in
be
there.
he's that scientist that never actually became Doc Ock. We don't know.
And we already saw the Morbius tie-in just in the commercials.
Right. And Morbius is delayed again. But Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, for whatever reason, Sony dropped the ball on 3, Fox dropped the ball on 3 on X-Men.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four 1 was fine. Fantastic Four 2, I still have never seen all of. I can't stay awake.
Yeah.
We all know the best Fantastic Four is the unreleased 90s.
He's just
Shut your mouth.
Another one of those things. It's like in every episode.
Yeah.
There's a reference to that movie.
Don't forget Ghost Rider.
Oh,
Ghost Rider was trash.
You know what's funny about those two is like you could watch one and watch the other, and not even realize that they were sequels to each other.
Right.
Well, they
I
tried
don't know
to
that I've watched the second one.
they tried to reboot and sequel all in the same movie in
Yeah.
the second one.
See, I loved Fantastic Four because of Jessica Alba. She was one of my crushes of that decade. You know, and Chris Evans is
Chris
Human
Evans, a
Torch.
great Johnny Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, he
The
went from Losers
casting
to
was
that.
fine. And honestly, the first movie was fine. It stood up fine. I can still go back and watch it now and be okay. I didn't
hate it.
Galactus was terrible, and the Silver Surfer was. The whole second movie was just lackluster.
yeah.
So we had good Blade's at the beginning. All these other movies kind of were the middle, and then you had Batman Begins. But I really think the movie that set the ultimate standard in comics, book-based movies, was Iron Man.
Of course.
It set the CGI, it set the storytelling, and then DC just goes, we're going to do just the opposite of that. We're going to throw all of our characters in one big movie without telling you anything about them, and then we're going to go
Yeah,
explain
they
their
tried.
backstory.
We got all the way up to the Avengers by the time DC did that, though.
Yeah.
But that's because they were trying to put out movies like Green
Well.
Lantern, and I mean, they had no plan.
And
I mean, if would've just
they tried a
gave-
little bit with Batman Superman was kind of the first tee up, and then did Wonder Woman drop before Justice League?
Yes.
Wonder Woman did,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I
Aquaman
wish
was after.
Yeah,
Right.
Aquaman was after. But I just wish, I mean, we all saw Christopher Nolan's storytelling, and I wish they would have just handed him the keys and said,
And let him take it.
here's $100 million for you,
Well.
and here's $500 million to go do something.
I actually like Zack Snyder, and I thought he did a good job. I think that Warner Brothers had some bad editors.
Yes, they
that
did.
ruined.
Well, they wanted the Avengers, so what did they do? They
Well-
brought in Joss Whedon
Yeah.
to try to Avenger it up.
Yeah, but that
what
was
they had
after.
is they had one editor that believed a movie should be no longer than X amount of minutes
Yeah.
long, and he'd just start cutting stuff.
Yeah, he just cut whatever.
Well, and then he gets fired, and all of a sudden DC movies are starting to get a lot longer,
Well, and not only
Well-
that, like you go and watch the ones that he didn't cut that stuff out of,
and they're really good.
They're a lot. I mean, they're still not Marvel level, but they
Yeah.
are way
As-
better than what you saw in the theaters.
Martha. That's all I got to say. Martha. I mean, that one scene alone ruined the entire Batman Super movie. And I mean, even in the new Godzilla King Kong stuff, like there's memes about that, like they're fighting back and forth, and you know, King Kong's like, "Save Martha," and Godzilla's like, "Why did you say that name?"
Now, I can appreciate that DC did not do another Batman exposition movie. You know that
I still would have loved to
We
see
d-
Batfleck get his own movie though.
right,
And,
but
based in the timeline he was in, you wouldn't get that.
you know the way Marvel didn't do another Spider-Man origin again. You know,
Yeah, but we've already had so many, and I'm okay
Exactly.
with that. But like, they gave up on their universe. Like
Yeah.
they finally give us Justice League, and I actually liked Justice League the way it was. It didn't bother me at all. I mean, we're used to kind of they tried to set an Avengers tone to Justice League, and it was fine for me.
Yeah.
But like, you just can't go from all that dark and gritty stuff to trying to jump into happy and telling jokes.
And I think that was their biggest downfall is they wanted to make money like Marvel, so they started copying Marvel. Well, the DC characters don't fit in a Marvel style universe.
No, they're
They're
completely
dark
different.
characters. They need their own thing, and they tried too hard to be Marvel.
yeah.
well, and
Well, like Man of Steel, I have my issues with it, but
It's great to see Henry Cavill's
it
back.
was a good tone
excited
for a
about
Superman movie.
I am like Shazam. Shazam was the perfect DC movie to me. Like it was fun. It was like I didn't have to be like entrenched in their stuff. The first Wonder Woman movie,
The first Avenger.
yeah, the first Avenger, you know, Captain America,
It was Captain America, but better.
because she's prettier.
No, it was better.
No, it wasn't better.
I don't think it was better. I think it was good. I don't know that I
It
would
was
I would
it
say
was
it's
very
better than
well
the first
done,
Avenger.
but it was It's like
They cut entire involvement of Captain America in the war down to a montage.
all right.
His entire being a captain was a montage.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
That's 'cause they had to get
tell
to the
a
Red
whole
Skull.
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
they were just kind of trying to show you he was.
But
doing
they
it
did
for
that
quite
in
some
Wonder
time.
Woman without having to cut her fighting in the war down to
We
a
had to
montage.
watch-
But her entire time fighting in the war was crawling out of a
Yeah, it was
a
literally
trench.
it
That was
literally-
World War One.
Well, but they showed you.
but that's like her whole thing.
They
But
showed
that
you
was all of
Captain
World War
America
One.
fighting in multiple battles. She fought in one, apparently.
That's true.
That's all she had to do to win the war. though.
Well, okay, well, cool. So,
a
Wonder
DC homer,
Wonder
if you
Woman's
don't know.
better than Captain America. Now, I will say that Aquaman was like probably my second favorite.
It was
DC
a better
movie.
Black Panther.
It was a better Black Panther. It was definitely a better version
Because
of
it's
Black
the
Panther.
exact same thing.
It is. It's the same movie.
But notice that how much better the DC movies that are the obscure characters, Shazam and Aquaman, do compared to their mainstream characters.
Because
they're not so stuck to the idea of it.
yeah, they're not so they're not. No one reads Aquaman. By the way, no one reads Superman either. I can tell you based on sales overall, nobody reads Superman.
People have been reading the
I read
Bendis stuff.
both.
I'll have to say that.
What's ironic
You
is
started reading comics again when?
2012.
Right, and you stopped when?
When everything got 14,
Okay.
I started picking everything up again though.
When?
Working here.
Yeah, okay. You've been here since August.
Part of it was an income problem. Okay. Miniatures cost a lot.
Right, but was Superman the first book you added back to your pull list? Or was it just because you used
Honestly,
to read Superman?
Honestly, I've been waiting on the DC stuff to put on my pull list because I'm waiting to see for DC to figure out what they're going to do.
Right.
I don't want to invest a bunch of time in books if DC is going to go bankrupt and just stop publishing.
So there's certain characters from both publishers. There's Superman, there is Captain America, there's Iron Man. There's a handful of other characters in the world that people get tattoos on. They'll buy Punisher's one of them. They'll get tattoos. They have the apparel. They have statues. They have toys
because they're iconic.
And they don't know a damn thing about those characters.
Yeah.
They care about the icon that is, like the Superman
logo.
symbol meaning hope. They don't know anything about Superman. They haven't read a comic. They may have owned a copy of The Death of Superman from the 90s when they were kids.
They issued that out when you got a post office box.
Yeah.
And like there's just certain characters that the only knowledge of those characters is the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
Maybe the Brandon Routh Superman.
Or they know Spider-Man because they watched the cartoon in the 90s.
Spider-Man actually has a huge following.
Yeah.
I can tell you based on sales over 3 different datas and just where comics sell today.
Still,
Spider-Man has readers.
Right, I'm just saying there's still people out there that
Right.
they're Spider-Man fans but still don't read.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll collect the icon, but that definitely has more readers than
Spider-Man
Superman.
and Batman are definitely still for sure your top 2.
Yeah, people read Batman because they love Batman, and people read Spider-Man, and people read the X-Men because I see them complain about the stories all the time. But there's just certain characters that...
But I think out of those, everybody you mentioned, Spider-Man and Batman are probably the most relatable to anybody, right? People can find a way to get, because they're going to show you...
Batman's not a relatable character, though.
Well, not in as far as like, he is the non-powered guy that goes out and does stuff, right?
Yeah,
So that's what I mean by him. But with Peter Parker, the biggest thing to do with him is they always show you his faults, right?
Right.
You get into his life, everything is going on, so it's an emotional thing.
like-
you
Well,
can
that
get
was
on
that
with.
was a Marvel thing. That was
So Batman shows you a normal dude being super,
with billions of dollars.
but Spider-Man is a super dude that is normal. That's how they're both relatable.
No, that was Marvel's characters. Period. When Stan Lee started writing all these guys, everybody they weren't just superheroes. You know, they were superheroes that had problems.
So
and a lot of times it went right along with political stuff.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer was a hippie, and you had
The X-Men.
X-Men were all about
Civil rights.
discrimination.
Yeah, people that didn't fit in,
Civil
things like
rights and
that.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and Fantastic Four.
They're just the first family that was
they
actually
were just
put
kind of
together.
They weren't really dysfunctional, but
So, but and the overall, if you get on social media, the overwhelming consensus is Marvel has the more relatable heroes. DC has the better villains.
yeah,
and
on the whole, I would say
if you
my
think
favorite
of,
villain's still a Marvel villain.
You're right, but if you go through the villains of DC, you're going to know Joker. You're going to know Harley. You're going to know, oh Lord, I'm not very good at DC. Darkseid. You're going to know Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
I mean,
Batman alone.
Batman's
the amount of villains
Batman's
he
villains
has.
alone. His
right,
Rogues Gallery.
Clayface, Man Bat.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were a child of the '90s and watched the cartoon at all, you know all
Saw
of
them all. Yeah,
Mr. Freeze. I mean, we were
Calendar Man. Oh wait,
hey, Spider-Man
Well,
has a guy named Spot.
A lot of the super obscure Batman villains compete well with more of the well-known Marvel villains because of the Arkham games.
yes,
All of those little tiny villains make
Yeah,
an
'cause
appearance in the Arkham games.
they were
Yeah.
all-
Well, Deathstroke. I mean, Deathstroke's like Punisher on steroids with a fan base. Sometimes, I mean, people love Deathstroke.
Deathstroke's just a not funny Deadpool.
Well,
Yeah.
that's I
He
mean that's
is
who
the
Liefeld-
original Deadpool.
Yeah.
That's who Liefeld pretty much inspired.
Slade
Deadpool.
Wilson, Wade Wilson. I mean, come on, we all know what's happening here.
hey, he has a more Spider-Man look to him. Though.
Don't forget Deadpool Nerdy 30 #1 coming out soon. It was on my top 10 this last week. So
Was it?
Yeah.
Why?
It was. You should have listened to the video. You'd know that.
You just posted it today, and I was painting.
You can listen while you paint. I just hear excuses. That's all I hear.
Listen while you
I was
paint.
doing the same
Do,
thing.
do, 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 do.
Does he not have AirPods?
I don't.
No, he doesn't ever wear Bluetooth. Trust me, we all know. We all get to hear his
My
freaking conversation.
Bluetooth's not even hooked up to my truck right now. So,
You're such a Luddite.
well, I don't know what you just called me, but okay.
I'm not gonna tell him either.
Hey Siri. I wasn't talking to you, but I was. So, all, I think the movie universe is only going to get better. I think DC still has some I'm glad they decided to do Wonder Woman 3, even though I will never watch Wonder Woman 2 again because it was hot garbage.
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy it at all. Like from the moment go, I never felt like the movie got going.
I still don't understand why we had to wait an extra 2 years for that.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
but that
COVID,
makes me so
whatever,
worried
but
about Black Widow now.
it
I'm
came
like,
out 2000. It would have been able to come out 2018, but for some reason they delayed it to 2019.
So is just bad release time the only thing that's holding up Black Widow right now? They just
Yes.
don't want to drop it right now.
They don't want to drop it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
They
They
want
want
to
to
keep
stay
claiming
theatrical.
those like the first female lead Marvel character made $1 billion. Like they want that claim. But they just need to release the movie, and it could be because the filming schedules got so delayed because of COVID that they don't want to drop Black Widow and then wait 6 months to a year for the next movie to come out because they're on a 3-movie to.
yeah.
Hawkeye
Yeah.
should be out by the end of the year, so we're gonna
But-
get
but
something at the
Hawkeye's
end of the
Disney
year.
Plus. I think they want.
I
stuff
understand
in
that, and the
theaters.
Eternals is at the end of the year.
I think it moved to 2021,
Well, that I haven't seen that. 'cause
This
that
is
was
2021.
Set, yeah,
2022.
Okay.
it was set for the end of 2021 last time I saw.
Okay, well, I'm hoping it does because, like, the cast for Eternals, even though I don't know anything about Eternals,
I really
is
don't either.
amazing.
Well, I know they are basically another Kree experiment. They basically took humans, they went somewhere else with them. They're Kree experiments. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, they're just like, oh crap, we can't use the Inhumans anymore. Oh, the Eternals.
Yeah, I mean, they screw.
They're
So
technically-
that's basically where they're going with it.
I think they still come back and do Inhumans once they give us a few more years to forget.
And technically, aren't the Eternals like the other side of the same race? Like the Eternals have like a little counter race. I can't remember what they're called, and that's the race Thanos.
I really don't know
It's from-
anything about the Eternals.
All I know is it's another Kree experiment.
It was yeah. So the Eternals were all Jack Kirby. That was kind of his thing before he went to go do.
It
New
was
Gods.
his answer to what I think he did with DC with
Which was
like
New
Dark
Gods.
Side.
New
and
Gods,
all that.
New
yeah.
Gods.
Yeah, and so that's where Thanos comes from. What is the Eternals and the like not the deformed, but anyway, yeah, and that's what Thanos is technically.
Have y'all seen the stills of Thor with in the Guardians of the Galaxy being filmed?
Yeah.
He's got like
His
that leather red jacket
Yeah.
on.
Looks like a sleeveless Michael Jackson jacket.
yeah.
Now he had kind of a look like that back in the '90s, if I remember correctly.
Well, so Thunderstrike, who was Eric Masterson,
Yeah.
had like the kind of the grungier look, and he had the beard before Ultimate Thor
Yeah.
had the beard kind of thing. But yeah, he was his own character. That was Thunderstrike.
Well, all I know is I can't wait for that movie to come out
Yeah.
because his interaction with Chris Pratt
it's
awesome.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be it's Thor:
Are you-
Love and Thunder, but it's Guardians 2.0 or 2.5.
Why are you talking like
So-
that? I always talk like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the interaction with them was great,
You're out
and
of
then of course
slack.
them making fun of him and all that kind of stuff.
I'm back.
Darren's
Okay.
My head.
just screwing it all
Yeah.
up.
Well,
Keeps
I can't help it.
sliding,
why we don't
sliding
have
his
nice
table
things.
into himself and throwing his microphone around.
So another project that we're doing, we're coming to the end. We're coming up. We've got about 7 minutes before we're going to cut out. But one of our big pushes for 2021 is YouTube. We're doing a lot of YouTube content, which obviously this is on YouTube.
The YouTubes.
And I mean, because between Twitter, which isn't very big, but Instagram, Facebook, which we've really focused on for our first 4 years, we have over 50,000 followers between the three of those. So our big push this year is YouTube. And Tanner, as you being the person that we brought on full time to be this person, explain some of the reasons, not financial reasons, but what are some of the benefits from us focusing on YouTube? What are some of the things that you want to see through YouTube, and why we want people to follow us, and just talk about what we're doing right now?
I mean, I want to see us put out content that people want to waste time at work with. I want to ruin your free time.
I want to be why your wife is mad at you.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a great opportunity, especially with people finding different media outlets online to try and find content. There's just a great opportunity for us to put up stuff out there for helping you to find the stories that you want to find.
Yeah, and I'll dovetail onto that. There's a lot of information we want to put out there. There's just a lot of stuff, what's coming up, what we think is going to be good or not, that, we can't contain in just a podcast and just an hour in a live sale, right? So this is just a way to us getting more information out there, and not just pictures in a Facebook, post either. That we can be more detailed and give it to you in a more energetic way.
My ultimate goal is just to take, if I can get one completely normal person out there to turn into a nerd, my job is done.
There you go.
Just one. Are you quitting after one?
I'm not quitting. That's just
Is that
can-
like are you
We
moving
just
on
got
to
a
your?
formal
I can
resignation,
die
I think.
peacefully, knowing that if I just can
How would
convert
you know
one
though?
person.
How would you know if one
Comment
person converts?
On this
Comment.
video if it happened.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
If you're the one guy, please comment so
I
Tanner
was
can
not
die
a nerd.
happy.
And then I watch your YouTube channel, and now I'm a nerd. Thank you, Unknown Comics.
I had a girlfriend. No, I don't. Thanks, Unknown Comics.
I used to
Had
have
disposable income.
I used to have a contract to play professional football. No, I don't.
Yeah.
So there was actually, I remember back, this was almost 20 years ago, there was an Eagles defensive player, Harry Douglas, I think was his name. No,
No, that's a receiver.
he was a defensive
I
lineman.
know who you're talking about, though.
He was a
Douglas.
Hugh Douglas.
Hugh Douglas.
Huge X-Men fan, and on one of the Monday Night Footballs, like they had a whole thing about his comic book collection. It was really cool.
We're out there. We've always been out there.
Yeah.
We just finally
like,
we won by staying we
Henry Cavill. You had no idea how big of he's a super geek.
That
super
nerd,
nerd.
That nerd's built PCs on
yeah.
video.
I mean, he literally almost didn't get Superman because he forgot to pick up the phone because he was playing World of Warcraft. I mean, what a story is that?
He spent his time in quarantine painting custodians.
I just
yeah, I mean,
for all the nerds out there that just aren't ashamed of who you are, you're welcome. We got beat up for you.
right. That is right, because I mean, all through high school, I was made fun of.
You buried
and,
that down deep.
And I had no friends, and all of a sudden,
Now
as I
it's
got
cool.
about 10 years later, all those people that were mean to me are like, I love comic books.
well, speaking of that,
And I'm like, you
we're getting this
jerk.
new building and this, and we keep telling everybody that signing up for new electricity, signing up for the rent and lease, and we're like, yeah, what do you guys do? Oh, we run a comic book store. That's so cool.
Oh my gosh.
10 years ago, they're like, no,
They were hanging up on us
you
10
can't,
years ago.
you can't pay your bills. You're a comic book store. We can't deal with you.
Yeah,
it's like
and when
just
y'all went,
crazy.
when
how
y'all
much
went to open
different it
up
is.
Table's Edge.
No,
like,
we
you
would
couldn't find a
call
place.
strip malls, and they would be like,
No.
you want to do what? No. And they would hang up on us.
And a lot of it was actually because they didn't want
Loitering
and
and lingering.
they didn't want the video game places more actually.
Right.
So they thought we were going to be associated with that. The video game people, they didn't want that in
Like
there.
they're any different.
Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly.
yep. And they thought, well, we're we don't sell video games. It'll be just fine.
And now we're moving into a piece of
Prime real estate.
prime real estate.
Yeah.
We're across from our only Target, guys. That's how cool we are. We have one Target, and we're across
And
the
our
street.
only bookstore.
Listen, if we were bigger, we would have more than one. We're just not. big
Our only first run bookstore. let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Not used bookstore.
Yeah.
enough. Which we're getting a used bookstore.
Which one are we? Oh, yeah, Ollie's.
Yep. Oh, there's Ollie's, and then there's something else we're getting. First price. What is that? Something priced books, something like that.
Are we getting half price book?
Yeah.
Are we really?
Oh, is it
Yeah,
like
they're going one
like
over
a chain?
Sansi.
Really?
Yeah, they're getting a half price book over off
Why?
Sansi.
Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Leave us alone, half price books.
You thrive with more competition.
I
It
do.
just makes you meaner.
It does make me mean. When I told my staff, because my big thing about going in, we haven't focused on retail, so we haven't really done the game stuff, and what do you think the other stores are going to think about this? Is well, I'm out to put them out of business now.
You talking about locally?
Yeah, locally.
Yeah, I was like on a online market. None of the other guys we know do any games, so that wouldn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, my whole thing is, with the trash business, I bought 3 other companies other than the one that I own. Like, every time someone would pop up, I was like, when you're ready to quit, just call me and I'll buy you out.
Yeah.
That was my mentality. And the one I really want is I want my old store back. I want my old gaming tables back. And I wanted to buy them the last time the company was for
Right.
sale. And I'm like, I just want my stuff back.
But to your credit, though, you're competitive, and you do want to be the only game in town. But if another store asks you for help,
I'll help them.
you'll help them.
Right. I mean, we've had to help stores throughout this time.
Yeah.
When DC did their whole divorcing Diamond thing, the first thing I did was call all the local stores that carried comics and be like, hey, guys, go set up your account. Make sure you don't mess that up because you have until Monday. So we went through all of that. And I will help anybody that asks for help. Yeah. But I also know that when it comes to wanting to be the best, I'm going to figure out how to be the best. And by being the best, that means
Painting.
Oh, Lord.
We got 15 gallons of paint today, and that's not even all we're going to need, most likely.
Yeah. We spent like $900 on paint supplies today.
Especially black and red.
Yeah, well,
especially red.
gray.
Red.
So we've changed the red. We're not going to do a red paint stripe. We're going to actually have you
Printed.
guys actually design a print sticker that can be stuck up there professionally.
Oh, like a
It'll
wall
look like
vinyl
a
kind of
scroll
thing.
bar. Like it'll
It'll
look
go
like,
all the way around the room.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'll look kind of cool. It'll have our stuff on it.
I told him we could go like, the house that Jerry built and do an actual LED all the way around the room, but he didn't like that.
Yeah, no Cowboy Stadium. We're not $1 billion
I am
franchise.
so ready to put LED panels in there.
Just all around.
That you cannot afford what I want to do.
I appreciate that because making videos for those things is awful.
Yeah, that would be pretty rough.
Because, and my goal is to continue to build out Amarillo, and I want Amarillo to be a destination when people travel from other cool places, not to here, but just traveling through.
Yeah.
Because that's why we chose right off of I-40. So my goal is always to make Unknown Comics a bigger brand. I mean, that's why we do what we do. That's why we worked on shipping so hard. And that's why I do everything. Like, I have little year goals in my head. Year 1 was get started. Year 2 was grow. Year 3 is what the hell have I done? We've got to figure out how to catch up on shipping.
Yep.
Year 4 was, oh crap, COVID hit. We're going to have to reevaluate everything we do. And like I tell everybody, like retail, because I've done retail before. I did retail before Hastings. I had my store.
Brick and mortar retail.
Brick and mortar retail. And so when we came back, retail was like the last thing on my list.
No,
Like, I did not.
I remember we had the conversation, and I told you,
And
you
so-
don't need to do this.
Right. And so when people are like, I don't even know how I know how to run the register. If you watch this, I actually do know how to run the register. But I tell everybody I don't know how to do it. And I was like, I was like, oh, this is Chris's dream. That's what I tell everybody, because this is honestly, opening a retail store is still not my thing.
Well, and part of
it's
that
Chris's dream.
And part of that is you really haven't been gaming a whole lot, and kind of the more impetus for a retail space is gaming, right? That you can sell games online, but
And there's
really
so
and truly
much drama.
there is.
There's so much drama to having a local comic book store, because you really are a bartender for sober people with way more problems.
But we get away from that by being a bigger store. It's where you're always in the office, and they just
I will
someone
make a
works the
case,
register.
because I was talking to a store. One of my friends is a store owner up in Indiana, and she was telling me about like they really want to expand, but they only have like her husband, and one staff member, and her husband feels like if they get too big that they'll lose that personal touch.
connection,
And you know what? I was like, that's not me. I'm going to hire someone to be the personal touch, and I'll just make appearances.
Well, and here's the thing is if you have people to run the register and answer the questions and stuff like that, now you're free to actually
Be the person.
to be that personal person too. When you want to be.
Well, and when customers that come in the store now, like I'll stop and talk to them, and we'll talk for long periods of time. But that's exactly the reason why we didn't want to be a local retail store right away, because one customer can stop your whole staff for an hour. We have a really good customer, Dusty. Love talking to Dusty. I'm hoping to actually have him on the podcast at some point, because he actually does like radio stuff on Fridays for one of the local AM stations. And he'll come in the store, and when we had the store all in one place, he would stop the whole staff because it was just fun to talk to Dusty.
Yeah.
And you get people like that, and it kills your productivity.
Yeah.
You can't have the two together anymore. So even with the design of the new store layout, we're like, how do we keep our employees out of the common area where customers are going to be because we don't want them stopping and talking. We don't want them to go in the game room.
And it's not even, and at this point, it's making sure the employees don't get distracted.
Right.
Right.
You know, it's not much. So it's not really so much the customer's fault now.
Yeah. No,
Because Chris, was telling me today that he thinks when we do open the store, like that he believes that we're not going to be ready for
I don't think we're going to be ready for the foot traffic.
the foot traffic.
I think we're
going
going to get a lot more than we're. Right now, we're kind of thinking, okay, I hope this is the right thing.
I hope we see people day one.
Well,
that I don't know.
I'm kind of scared that we're not going to be ready.
I think there's going to be a curiosity because
It's going to be big compared to everything.
There's going to be a big sign in a space that hasn't been occupied for quite a few years, and if still a very even though it's a mall area, that part is still pretty high traffic because
Best
people.
Buy and
Target's
that's
always
constantly.
busy.
Yeah, exactly, and probably will be for quite a while. I don't
Yeah.
think Target's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Watch them file bankruptcy like tomorrow.
Right.
No.
The mall itself may die. We don't know what's going to happen to that, but
I mean, for the most part, the mall's still full. You've got one big department store that's empty, but
It's 2 now because Bell's is gone too.
yeah,
Well,
Bell's and Sears are both gone.
I forget about Bell's because Bell's was supposed to go out of business and come right back, and then COVID killed that.
Yeah, COVID.
It
COVID
wasn't actually supposed to stay under.
And it is. I know we're a little over on time, but it is so weird to be opening up a retail store during COVID
yeah,
because there's so many rules against it.
yeah.
And here we are. We're going. We're like, hey, we want this place, and it's X amount of dollars. Okay, we'll try it out.
I'm going to feel really bad if we go into red right after our grand opening.
Well,
It's our fault.
yeah.
I was kidding around with the staff today. I was like, as we were painting, we had a couple guys over. It's like, they're like, man, this place is so cool. I was like, welcome to bankruptcy.
Yeah, this is a risk, but I think it's a calculated risk.
It's a high
and I think-
risk and should be high reward if everything goes right.
The way I see it, I believe that God is in control. I believe that God moves in certain directions all the time. And I believe that if it was something we weren't supposed to do, like I stopped before we ever looked at that building. Me and Chris were talking, and I just stopped and said, God, if this is not the place we're supposed to be, you show us today and you show us right now so we can just move on. And we stopped, and we went in, and the lady, how I knew God was speaking in that moment, because God he can't just slightly nudge me, he has to push me hard.
Right.
Like, I don't move very well when it comes to changing. And, the lady's first thing that she says, because I was praying about the rent, I was like, God, I have to be under a certain number. It has to be under a particular number.
Yeah.
And the first thing she says, well, this is the rent, but it's negotiable. And basically was winked at us, she didn't wink, but it's she's like, just give us a number, please rent this place.
Yeah.
And then as we talked to her, she was just super friendly, super charismatic. And then she's like, oh, and we'll also let's throw in a month. And then we're like, oh, okay. And then we don't even say anything. She's like, we'll throw in 2 months. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
You are not good at this.
Well, her counter argument was instead of saying, okay, you'll pay that much, and then we'll also give you
A build fee.
a build out
building
fee.
allowance.
Basically just kind of give it to you all up front.
Right.
It's kind of.
Right. But I mean,
It's an amazing thing to do because not only that, we're getting what we're getting for that free, but that's actually part of our lease. It's not 2 months plus 36.
it's part of the 36
2 of
months.
those months are part of that, which
Yeah.
is
That's
that's
pretty cool.
crazy.
Yeah. This is super exciting. I mean, I'm totally jazzed to be a part of it, and
And tomorrow you definitely get to be part of it because
Yeah.
you guys are going to be over there.
we have to take down
rocking your studio space.
we have to take down 90s wallpaper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
somehow.
might be
Hey,
late 80s.
with-
That's terrible.
With ducks. Don't forget the
I
ducks.
just don't know.
What did she say? 89 was the last time.
91
that was leased?
was
91.
91 was
So that stuff's
when-
been up in there probably.
What
since
scares me
then.
is when I worked for a paint store, there were a ton. There was a section devoted to wallpaper removal. That means it's not easy.
Yeah,
things that scored the wallpaper, and then a liquid that you put on it that
when we were over
broke down the
there.
glue.
Ramos was like, "So how are you going to help him get that wallpaper down?" Dan's like, "Not my problem."
I did. That was my exact response. He's like, but that's going to be hard work. I was like, I have 12,000 other square feet to think about.
I was
They
gonna
can
say,
handle those
ideal.
2 rooms.
if that means that all we have to focus on is those 3 rooms right there.
Yeah, and really,
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
take
you could paint that other room, but I mean, you
Amy's
really
going
don't
to be
need
the one that has the most sad news because y'all's has to be redone for work related. So y'all get to do it during work hours. I got to go tell Amy her office is already painted a color, and she doesn't need to theoretically change this color for any reason whatsoever.
I really see Amy not giving one crap about what it looks like.
So she's gonna move in there, like hang up a cat poster that says "hanging in there," and just move on. Because I'm gonna have to tell her, I was like, "I'll give you the money to repaint your room, but you can't do it during normal hours. It's got to be your project."
Yeah.
And just because, like, y'all stuff is work related, otherwise I'd tell you the same thing and be like, "Not on my time."
Yeah.
But yeah, tomorrow we're gonna skip the live show and let y'all get your room done because the internet's gonna be installed next week.
Yeah, well, the big thing is
So
they'll be here until the network gets moved.
yeah, the network is the big thing we got to get moved over. So
Yep.
lots of big things, lots of things coming. Next week we'll talk more about stuffs. We'll have a little bit better itinerary. This week has been super rushed because of all this Lee stuff.
We'll have more WandaVision.
More WandaVision, and hopefully there's some big reveals that we'll see this week.
Apparently, this next episode, from what people are saying with leaks, is going to be a big deal. We'll find out.
Be awesome. Real quick before we go, Tanner, what can we expect on the YouTube channel this week?
So coming up this upcoming week, we're going to see my top picks for reading for the March previews. We're going to see next week's FOCs. We're also going to see, of course, the podcasts. If you go over to our gaming channel, you're going to see a couple unboxings, another podcast, and hopefully me and Chris are going to get to some Kill Team bat reps.
All right. And Chris, how can they find us all the places?
Yeah, so if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook at Unknown Comics, Instagram at Unknown Comic Books. Both those are at Unknown Comic Books. I messed up the first one. Don't listen to the first thing I
Tanner,
said.
can you just overlay these?
And then at Unknown underscore comics on the Twitter. Of course, you can find us on YouTube. Like he just said, we have Unknown Comics channel and Unknown Gaming channel. And if you're listening to the podcast and, you don't like listening to it on iTunes, you can also listen to it on Audible, or you can listen to it on Spotify, whatever thing you like. Just
don't forget about
just find it. Just
Don't
find it.
forget
You'll
about
listen to it.
Pinterest.
Oh, we're on Pinterest. So we have
9 million views this month.
millions of viewers on Pinterest and quite a few thousand followers. So yeah, follow us on Pinterest.
I'm
you'll see
still
all our
waiting
fun
for
stuff
the Unknown Comics Pinterest recipe book.
there. I've got some stuff. I could probbe make some of that.
I can introduce some guacamole.
Step 1, drive to Popeyes. Step 2, bring it back to Unknown
order a
Comics.
spicy chicken sandwich.
Well, with that, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on the Unknown Comics podcast.
Bye.